According to my clock, it's now 7 o'clock. So I'm going to call to order the Dartmouth Conservation Commission's meeting for November 28th, 2023. I want to let everyone know that we're conducting this meeting remotely as a result of the governor on March 29, 2023, signing a further extension for hybrid remote meeting options to municipalities. The governor extended that option until March 31, 2025. We do allow the public to be a participant in the hearings, and at the bottom of the screen, there should be a raise your hand feature, and if not, wave your hand in the screen and we will recognize you, and when we're recognizing you, you can unmute yourself. That being said, we're going to move to our administrative matters, and the first is the approval of the minutes of October 31, 2023. May I have a motion to that effect?
So moved. Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Joe?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
Nat?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. The next item is the approval of the field trip reports of November 14th, 2023. A motion to that effect.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
With seconded motion. Roll call vote. Joe?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
And Nat?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That motion passed unanimously. Moving on to the third item, it's to receive the minutes of the November 14, 2023 meeting. I have a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
With a second on the motion. Roll call vote. Joe?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
Nat?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. We're moving now to our field trip reports. Excuse me. The first is a request for determination of applicability, RDA 23-31, from Sarah and Krill Semenov for the repair of a subsurface sewage disposal at map 89, lot 21. That's located at 29 Little River Road. Mark, what is staff's recommendation on this request?
The existing septic system that needs repair, we're recommending a -3 with standard erosion control device conditions.
Okay, any commissioners have any questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on this request.
Motion for a -3 with standard erosion control conditions.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Joe?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. The second field trip report is a request for a certificate of compliance, DEP file 15-2583, RCC-23-53. It's for the approved vegetation management at map 35, lot 24. It's located at 153 Gulf Road. Mark, what's staff's recommendation on this request?
Staff recommends the issuance of a complete certificate of compliance.
Any commissioner have any question? Seeing none, is there a motion on this request?
So
Make a motion. Make a motion for complete certificate of compliance.
Okay, we have a second on that?
Second.
With a seconded motion, roll call vote. Joe?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
Nat?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. The third is a request for a certificate of compliance, DEP file 15-2556, RCC 23-52, for the approved renovations and the addition of a pool, terrace, deck, landscaping, and utilities to the property at map 35, lot 24. It's 153 Gulf Road. Marks, what staff's recommendations on this request?
Recommending a complete certificate of compliance.
Any questions of any commissioners? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for the issuance of a complete certificate of compliance.
So moved.
So moved.
We have a second? We have a second on the motion. Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
yes,
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. The fourth field trip report. It's a request for a certificate of compliance, DEP file 15-2472, RCC 23-50 for the approved order of conditions from 5/29/2019 for a single-family house and associated grading and utilities, as well as the record plan entitled Subsurface Sewage Disposal System dated 3/12/2019 in the buffer zone to a wetland on land located at map 8, lot 1-1 or 2, Lichen Lane. Mark, what's staff's recommendation on this request?
Again, staff recommends a complete certificate of compliance.
Any questions of any commissioner? Seeing none, I'm entertain a motion for the issuance of a complete certificate of compliance.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
motion, second on the floor. We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
yes,
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. The fifth field trip report is a request for a certificate of compliance. DEP file 15-2333, RCC 23-54. For the brush cutting for a single-family home development within land subject to coastal storm flowage and the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland on land located at map 112, lot 30. It's otherwise known as 16 Bourne Place. Mark, what's staff's recommendation on this request?
This is the oldest of these existing expired orders for 16 Bourne Place, and we are recommending a complete certificate of compliance here.
Okay.
so moved.
So we have a second. We have a second. And so we're now going to do a roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes,
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. The field trip report is a request for a certificate of compliance, DEP file 15-2333. It's RCC 23-545 for the single-family home development within land subject to coastal storm flowage and the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. It's on land located at map 112, lot 30. It's otherwise known as 16 Bourne Place. Mark, what is staff's recommendation on this request?
Hey, this one's not so simple. I need a few minutes. This is also an expired order of conditions for the single-family development at 16 Bourne Place. The previous was for the brush cutting to create the window to build. This is actually the building proposal. And we had an issue with an abutting neighbor concerned about drainage and wanted to make sure that the existing grading on site was consistent with the plan of record. So we had the consultant, in this case, Northeast Consulting Engineers, go out and do an as-built plan, which I have sent to you. What's interesting is that the house location and the grading, for the most part, is consistent with the plan of record issued, the plan of record associated with the order of conditions. However, there are two additional elements: a retaining wall to the north and to the northwest, north, and northeast of the house, and a change of grade directly behind the house, which has nothing to do with the abutter's drainage question, but also an existing driveway in the southeast corner of the property that were not on the plan of record. And this makes this request a little bit complicated, because we also have a pending continued public hearing for case number 2705 to do some additional work on the site. My concern right along has been that there are too many open files expiring, and we're not sure what's been done correctly and what hasn't been done correctly. Ergo, we went to get an as-built plan, and this as-built plan has indicated some inconsistencies. Having said all of that, Staff is recommending a partial certificate of compliance for the house and the driveway, the original driveway layout. But also is recommending that partial certificate with conditions. And I would like to read, I sent this to everybody, but I'd like to read it for the record. This is an attachment to the partial certificate of compliance should the commission vote this way, which reads, the issuance of this partial certificate of compliance requires that further actions must be taken by the applicant to allow for the future issuance of a complete certificate of compliance under this file number. Conditions are: 1, the applicant shall immediately withdraw the current filing, file number 15-2705 without prejudice to allow for an after-the-fact filing. 2, as file number 2455 has expired June 3rd, 2023, as extended by the emergency COVID tolling period, no work proposed under that filing may continue, as there are no current as there is no current or valid permit. 3, an after-the-fact notice of intent shall be filed no later than December 28th, 2023, noon, for all work conducted on the above referenced site that was included on the current as-built plan, but not included on the plan of record referenced in the order of conditions under file number 2455. This work includes at a minimum the retaining wall to the rear of the house. The driveway is installed along the southern boundary of the parcel, and site stabilizing work, hydro seeding that occurred after the permit had expired. Condition 4, also, the new work as proposed under file number 15-2705 can be reapplied for under this after the fact notice of intent filing, as the file number shall be withdrawn in accordance with condition 1 of this attachment. So basically what we're trying to do is, since we cannot fully close 2455 and they can't do any work, they have to file an after the fact. So if they withdraw 2705, which is the file we have yet to hear, and combine the two under a new separate filing, I think we can address all the outstanding issues.
Makes sense to me. Do any commissioners have any questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for the issuance of a partial certificate of compliance regarding the house and the original driveway, subject to the conditions which have been detailed by Mr. Garrett.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. We're now moving from the field trip reports to our public hearings. And consistent with what I've said before, the first 3 are all involving Potter Street, and the issues that are going to be involved that we can discuss with the first will be applicable to the second and third. So rather than repeat it all for second and third and make the meeting even longer, we'll just incorporate the discussion of 1 into 2 and 3. They will be separate votes, and I will read all 3 of them into the record. The first public hearing is a continued public hearing, DEP file 15-2659, NOI 23-27, on the notice of intent from Potter Street Solar LLC for a single-family dwelling and a ground-mounted solar panel array on the rear portion of the lot within bordering land subject to flooding in the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. It's on land described as map 138, lot 144. It's on Potter Street. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved. Second.
We have a second on the motion. Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. And I see Mr. Farland and Mr. Attorney Marsh here. So whoever wants to speak on behalf of the applicant, the floor is now yours.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Christian Fowland, Principal Engineer and President of Fowland Corp. representing Potter Street Solar LLC. The last meeting, we had made a decision to do some additional soil testing out at the site, and for it to be witnessed by Mark Garrett and the DEP. We did schedule those tests. They were performed a couple weeks ago. The results were very similar to the previous 12 test pits we had. So in all, we have a total of 18 test pits throughout the entire site, encompassing the entire limit of work. It was determined, and DEP just most recently sent an email that the site not considered a landfill, and did not require any additional soil testing on site, especially since we're just performing, we're proposing solar arrays on the site. Since the last meeting, we also revised the plans and addressed all of the engineering department's comments. They signed off on the project, and we also addressed all the peer review, Gus Reposa's comments, and he has signed off on the project as well. Most recently, I talked to Mark Garrett, and I thought it would be a good idea to propose, although we certainly didn't do any filling back in the 1960s for the site, but I thought it would be a good idea as a good tenant and developer in the town of Dartmouth if we could try to clean up the site. So we proposed an actual mitigation plan around the edge of the wetlands to clear up a lot of the invasive species and to plant some native plantings along the area, to restore the area that was, eventually was once natural habitat. We feel by doing this and the proposal that we have is going to be a significant improvement to what currently exists on the site. And we feel it's going to be a win-win for not only for the developer, but for the town as well. And we're hoping that the commission agrees with us. I feel we've done everything the commission has asked of us. And we're hoping we can get approval so we can move forward with this project.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you very much, Christian. Mark, what are staff's comments on the revisions and the proposal?
Well, first, let me say that I think I concur with everything that Christian said. I think he presented everything quite accurately at what has transpired over the past 2 weeks. I guess I have a couple of questions, not issues. I certainly saw, and I did forward to the commissioners, the state's response, which Christian has verbalized accurately. I received it at 3:00. So I read it, I know what it says, and I'm not questioning what it says. However, this has been a year-long process, and we have a lot of information that we have gone over. For me to give the commission a recommendation tonight would be not in the best interest of the commission, and I don't think in the best interest of the applicant. I think the applicant has made vast improvements. Certainly, this enhancement program that Christian has referenced is, and I did send you a copy of, I think it was the first iteration of that plan, is a huge step, to protect the environment on a site, which I'm going to be really honest with you. Having read the reports that were submitted previously, and having observed 6 of the 18 test pits, the new 6 that were done on November 14th, I can't tell you how much wetland was filled, but I can tell you wetland was filled based on the soil characterizations of the native soils underlying the fill. the presence of groundwater in at least 2 or 3 of the test pits. The new test pits that were done. I fully understand that historical photographs show that much of the footprint was done in the 60s. And while today that does not appear to be a good use of wetlands, back then there was no regulation of wetlands. You didn't even have to report filling. That didn't start in 1972. I think in a good analysis of the historical photographs, the footprint that we see today is largely the footprint that we saw before. I know DEP Wetlands had asked a question about quantifying or cross-referencing the fill to the regulatory requirements at the time of specific disposals. The applicant was not involved in the site. The applicant has no access to any kind of records, and frankly, I don't believe any records really exist. I don't think people keep the records that closely at the time. So having said all that, I think that the enhancement plan, while nobody can say whether it's 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 or 1-to-2, doesn't matter. It's, I think, an excellent step in advancing this project. I do have one question, and I'll direct it at Christian, but I know Brad Holmes, who crafted the plan, is with us. I have gone back with some emails on some minor points. Are we expecting a revised plan based on any of the comments, or revised notes on the plan based on the comments moving forward? Or are we staying with the plan that we have?
Yeah, I think the plan that we have is going to be the plan going forward. I think what we may do is, and Mark, you may want to work with Brad on the conditions of approval for the 3 years of monitoring. I would have no problem with that. And I think some of the some areas may require additional plantings than other areas. And again, I think that's all done in the field.
Yeah.
I know Brad may want to talk on it more than I. He's the expert. But just from my past experience, that's typically how it would work.
I will tell you quite honestly, in terms of, and I haven't written anything yet, but I've thought about it. In terms of monitoring plan, I don't think there is a 3-year monitoring plan. You're proposing to eradicate a very gnarly, aggressive, invasive. If you get them out in 3 years, I'm giving you applause. I don't know that you can guarantee it. You can give it a good shot, but you still may not be successful. So I would almost waive that time period, and I'm thinking of just close coordination, working with Brad and yourself as this progresses. I can't predict what's going to happen in month 14 of an eradication program for not week. I can't, with how successful the program is against the aggressiveness of the stand on site. It's a case by case thing. So I can be very flexible with that. I just want, in putting together a document, a recommendation, I need to reference plans of records and documents of records, and I just wanted to know where we were going in terms of the plan, moving forward.
Yeah, I would
It's gonna be an update.
Yeah, I would hold the last plan we sent as the plan of record for reference.
That's pretty odd. So I guess in closing, we have a meeting next Tuesday on December 5th. And I will, once I get tonight's permits out, I will dedicate whatever it takes between now and then to get a set of a recommendation together that is in the best interest of the applicant, the commission, the town moving forward.
Thank you.
If that's okay. So I would recommend to the commission a continuance just to allow me time to write.
That's until the December 5th meeting, correct?
Yes, I will have it done by December 5th because I know these guys are anxious and I don't want to hold them up any longer than they need to be. And I think we have all the information that we can get, are going to get, and what we need to make a decision.
Okay, Christian, is that an acceptable request as far as the?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've held Mark up quite a bit on this one. It's definitely taken a lot of his time and effort, and one more week we can certainly wait for. We appreciate everybody's time.
I appreciate that, Christian. So do any commissioners have any questions? Is there anyone in the audience that wants to be heard this evening? I'm not going to close the public hearing, but if you're here tonight for this and you want to be heard, you may. Okay. Commissioners, there's been a recommendation from Mr. Garrett, and the applicant has indicated they think it's an acceptable request that we continue this public hearing for 1 week until Tuesday, December 5, 2023 at 7 p.m. I have a motion to that effect, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Seconded motion, roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. We're moving on now to the second, which is a continued public hearing, DEP file 15-2660, NOI 23-25. It's on the notice of intent from Potter Street Solar LLC for a single-family dwelling and a ground-mounted solar panel array on the rear portion of the lot within bordering land subject to flooding and the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands on map 138, lot 144-1. This is on Potter Street. May I please have a motion to waive the reading?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded motion. Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. As mentioned before, this is a companion to the first public hearing, so I'd be seeking a motion to continue for 1 week until Tuesday, December 5, 2023 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Seconded motion. Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. We're moving on to the third, which is the start of this trilogy. It's continued public hearing, DEP file 15-2658, NOI 23-26. On the notice of intent from Potter Street Solar LLC proposing a ground-mounted solar panel array on the rear portion of lot within bordering land subject to flooding and the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands on land described as map 138, lot 144-2. That is located on Potter Street. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
The seconded motion, roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. So I'll now entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until Tuesday, December 5, 2023 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
The seconded motion, roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week. Our fourth public hearing is a continued public hearing, DEP file 15-2697, NOI 2336 on the notice of intent from Rockland Farm. Excuse me. Yeah, I said it right. Rockland Farm Lane LLC for the construction of a new single-family home, driveway, in-ground pool, and appurtenances within bordering vegetated wetland, a 100-foot buffer zone, BVW, and within land subject to coastal storm flowage on land described as map 118, lot 132. It's on Rockland Street. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
The seconded motion, roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. And I see Mr. Farland here. Are you here on this one as well, Christian?
I am not. I thought this one was continued.
Yeah, Mr.
There was a
Chair,
request, for that.
there's
Yes.
an email request for a continuance on this. We have not received any revised materials since the last batch of materials we had, which I forwarded to the commission. So Gilbert requested, made an email request for a continuance, but it was date non-specific. My thought process here is, I don't know where they are in the process. I know they needed some structural design components and things of that nature. I'm inclined to recommend continuing this to 12/19. We're gonna have several large hearings on the 5th continued, including the Potter Streets, but I think we're gonna have a few others. So I would suggest that we continue this to the 19th. Give them a little bit more time to get their ducks in a row and move forward that way.
Yeah, that's fine. I know we're waiting on the structural engineer. I know that really, he's really backed up, so we're still waiting to hear back from him.
Okay, thank you. Do any commissioners have any questions? Is there anyone in the audience that wants to be heard tonight, knowing that we're likely to vote to continue this until the 19th? Don't see any. Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until Tuesday, December 19, 2023 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second,
Seconded, we have a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Joe?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
Nat?
yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We're now going on to our 5th public hearing, which is a continued public hearing, DEP file 15-2706 NOI 23-45 on the notice of intent from Silas Costa to construct a single-family home with a garage, subsurface sewage disposal system, and regrading in the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. It's on land described as map 24, lot 73-1. It's on Rockadundy Road. Entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
We have the seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Joe?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
Nat?
yes.
And I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Is there someone here this evening on behalf of the applicant?
Hi, Mr. Chairman, Andrew Stackpole from Field Engineering. Good evening, everyone. I'll share my screen here real quickly to show the map. As you recall from the previous meeting, there was a section of the wetland line that had to be defined between a few flags that Mark had requested. So encircled here, I've shown that we've corrected that line. In addition, we've tried to establish some 100-foot buffer lines in here. I mean, pretty much the entire site's encroached by 100-foot buffer on both sides. So we tried to draw some semblance of a 100-foot buffer off of that new line, which you can see to the top of the, above the, where it says 100-foot buffer. In addition, we have some other lines coming from the wetlands from the northwest. And that's pretty much the corrections that we made on the plan. Didn't know if anybody wanted to be refreshed on the project or if we just need to go over the new data.
I only need the new data, but I'm speaking for myself.
New
Anybody
data
else?
is fine. New data is fine.
I have the new data as well.
That is fine.
That
That
is
is fine.
Very good. So you got your marching orders now, just the new data.
Okay.
Mark, staff's comments.
Yeah, Andrew kind of summed it up. We needed some lines adjusted, and that was the only reason for the continuance. I don't know if you recall, but the buffer zone line actually came from the north and actually bisected a portion of the septic system. It kind of went around the house to the east side, I believe, and crossed through the wetland or the septic system, which didn't make any sense because we had the wetland line that Andrew has circled. And so it was just an inaccurate depiction of the buffer zone. So what I did was in the plans that I sent you, I highlighted the new lines in question, the new buffer zone, which is that jog to the east on the northern end. And the old to the southwest remained the same. That was accurate off of the pond to the southeast and the offsite wetlands. So this plan certainly conforms with the accuracy on the ground. And given that, I am recommending that we issue a standard order of conditions for the project as per the plan dated November 15th, 2023, which is this version of the plan, which was submitted to us.
Okay. And any commissioners have any questions? Is there anyone in the audience who wants to be heard on this application? I don't see any. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
A second on that. Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
I don't see him, Mike.
okay. Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and Dummy, yes.
Yes.
And there he is.
Yes, Nick, you called. I apologize, gentlemen.
So it's a unanimous vote. And now, commissioners, what is your pleasure on this request? Entertain a motion for issuance of an order of conditions with our standard conditions.
Make a motion for a standard order of conditions. Mark, I'm sorry, what was the date on the plan?
November 15th.
According to the latest plan dated November 15th, 2023.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. We have our sixth public hearing, which is on DEP file 15-2549, NOI 23-48. It's on the request for an amended order of conditions to modify permitted single-family home and associated site grading and layout at map 128, lot 14-9. It's on Avis Street. My one question is, who's it from?
It's David Vermette.
Okay, from David Vermette.
Make a
So-
motion with the reading.
All right, the second on that motion.
Second.
The seconded motion, roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. And on behalf of the applicant, we have
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commission members, Stephen Giosa, representing the applicant this evening. And what I can do is share my screen for you.
please.
And what we have is a request to amend the order of conditions, which was granted for this project back in 2021. And this is a single-family residential home development. It is lot 2 of a 3-lot open space project that was approved through planning a number of years ago in conservation. Located off of Avis Street, which is a residential roadway which intersects with Elm Street, and Elm Street is located to the west of the subject property. So this is the middle lot of the 3-lot development. There was an approval for a single-family home, generally in the same location. What the applicant is proposing is to shift the house a little bit to the west, so away from the resource area. The wetlands being located down on the eastern border of this particular lot. The house has actually been shifted to the west and expanded in size, but basically a lateral expansion as opposed to a depth expansion to the lot. The basic grading scheme remains the same. We have a walkout to eliminate placement of a lot of fill on the wetland side or the east side of the dwelling. Utilities are proposed to be connected to the utility lines that have been installed within the access and utility easement on the west side of the property. Driveway access coming out and intersecting a common driveway, which has been constructed along the frontage of the lot here. The overall limit of work has remained the same. We do have a erosion control silt fence line with straw wattles proposed along the down gradient edge. And we've maintained the proposal to install a post and rail fence on the down gradient edge of the work limit to further differentiate between the hopefully approved portion of the lot and the adjacent resource area. So it is a buffer zone project, water and sewer connection, and most of the grading occurring in the areas away from the wetland resource areas. So I think a minor changes, and we're looking to have the commission make this the plan of record so the applicant can move forward with this proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Gioso. Mark, what is staff's comments and recommendations on this request?
Yeah, I think Steve summed it up. I mean, we've approved a single family residential development here. The house was slightly smaller, but this expansion is lateral. It's not, as Steve said, depth related. They have pulled it a little farther away from the wetland. It's really not much of a change over what we have approved, what we've approved in the past for this particular site. So having said that, staff is recommending a standard order of conditions as the end order of conditions per the plan dated November 21st, 2023.
Thank you, Mark. Do any commissioners have any questions? Is there anyone in the audience that wants to be heard on this application? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
We will a call vote on this seconded motion. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Commissioners, what is your pleasure on this request?
Recommend standard order of conditions as of per the plan submitted November 21st, 2023.
We have a motion. Do we have a second on the motion?
Second,
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good night now.
Thanks, Steve. Good night, Steve.
Good night.
Our seventh is a public hearing, DEP file 15-2710, NOI 23-49, on the notice of intent from Peter and Litia, I mispronounced that. I'm sorry. Costa to construct a 30-foot by 40-foot workshop in the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland on land described as map 24, lot 73-2. It's on 4 Lapham Lane. I'm going to take a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Moves. Second.
The seconded motion. Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. And is there someone, Mr. Stackpole, you're here on behalf of the applicant?
Yes, yes, Chairman, I am. And it's, you're close. It was Letitia. That was close.
Okay.
Let me share my screen here. Here we go. Okay, can everybody see that?
I don't see it on my screen.
Sorry. See here. Should come up.
That did now.
We got it.
Okay, great. Okay. Again, we the lot number you read off on the agenda, this is basically adjacent to the lot we were just discussing, the pond up here to the northwest. The long skinny lot off of Lapham Lane, is existing residence to the south. The proposal is to construct a woodworking shop on the property. Over the top of an existing, there's a little chicken coop there is a little structure. This is gonna be, was gonna be a slab on grade. It's within the 100-foot buffer. It's outside the 20-foot no touch buffer, 25-foot wetland no touch buffer. Proposal is to do a woodworking shop pretty much at grade, not changing the elevations or grading in the vicinity of the woodworking shop. The floor elevation would be about 6 inches above the existing 496. You can see there's a gravel drive located just to the east of the proposed structure. That would just be an entrance area. There wouldn't be, for now, there's no garage doors proposed. It's just an area so they could get a large door to get his equipment in and access the shop. So basically, we propose that this is going to be constructed. All unsuitable fill would be, taken out on the footprint of the building, would be removed off-site. Suitable soil brought in under the slab. And you see on the western side of the building, there'd be a higher elevation foundation wall, but outside of that, all the contours would remain the same. The elevations would stay the same. So no grading on the outside to minimize any disruption in the area. Utilities will be coming off of the utility pole located in the center of the site, just buried underground to the proposed wood shop. You can see that we are obviously within the 100-foot buffer. You can see the wetland flags. Pending any questions, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mark, staff's comments on this request?
Yes, this is kind of an interesting lot, as are most of the lots out in this area. One of the most notable features is that the existing residential home is set deep into the lot. So a lot of what's developed is actually more in the front of the lot. And typically you would want this as far away from the wetlands as you possibly could get it, which would flip it to the east side of the parcel. However, if you look, you'll see that there are sheds. This is a quasi-agricultural use. There's hens and other animals as are on abutting lots here. So it's very consistent usage. And with the existing access roads in and out, to reconform all of those would probably do more damage to the land than just siting the workshop where it is. So I think at the end of the day, this is probably as good a spot as any to add a structure. It is a buffer zone use. It's in a previously developed and used area. Given the presence of the old chicken coop. So having said all that, the only one concern you have with a building of this type is, does it become an ancillary residential use? I know it's not proposed as one right now, but things change over time. So having said that, staff is recommending a standard order of conditions per the plan dated November 2nd, 2023, with the additional condition of no water or additional residential usage to the workshop. I understand he needs power. That's why I didn't say utilities. He needs electric if it's going to be a workshop. I get that. But there should be no plumbing for bathrooms, sinks, because all of those things then become part and parcel of a potential future residential use. I would add that one restrictive condition. Otherwise, the project appears appropriate to me.
Thank you, Mark. Do any commissioner have a question, the applicant or staff? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience that wants to be heard on this request? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
With a seconded motion, roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Commissioners, what is your pleasure on this request?
Recommend standard order of conditions as per plan submitted November 2nd, 2023, with the restrictions and conditions referenced by Mr. Mark Garrett.
Second.
With a seconded motion, roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Good
Good
night.
night now.
Our eighth public hearing is on DEP file 15-2709, NOI 23-51. It's on the notice of intent from Kenneth Steen, care of Pascamasket Land Company, to construct a medical office building, 17,544 square feet, and associated parking, lighting, subsurface utilities, and a stormwater management system in the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland on land described as map 68, lot 34-4. It's otherwise known as 491 Fauns Corner Road. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
Second on that, we have second, so it's roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Is there someone here this evening on behalf of the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Steen, Phil Cordero from Allen and Major Associates is here along with Mr. Ken Steen, representing the project.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you. With permission, I'll share my screen to walk the commission through the project.
That'd be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and just confirming everybody's able to see that all right?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic, thank you. So the subject that we talked about this evening, as you represented in the opening, is on Lot 4 of Pascamanset Office Park, which is off of Fauns Corner Road, which is a planned office park development, which you're familiar with. It has the Solar Cannabis Company, it has Dunkin' Donuts, it has a newly constructed office building right along Fauns Corner Road. And at the rear of the site, we have an extension of the marijuana parking lot, a satellite parking lot, and stormwater management for the central roadway that is part of the project. This commission has last seen this site development as part of the master plan development, which included several wetland resource areas at the rear of the property, including a BVW surrounding a stream channel that the driveway crosses over as a culvert as part of the office park, and then wetland series J, I, Y, and Z as shown on the easterly portion of the site. It is the area on the north side of our site driveway sandwiched between the BVW and the series J that we're asking for permission from the commission this evening to construct this office building, which is shown as a footprint of approximately 17,544. It's a single-story medical office building with associated parking, approximately 89 parking spaces, some of which will be shared by the existing marijuana parking lot construction that is already in place. The building is flanked to the west by the BVW zone that ultimately goes to the culvert under the driveway that I referenced, and to the east by the isolated wetland series J and series I. The existing driveway for the office park is constructed, and I'll just note it for the commission's benefit, to approximately here. That's the current terminus of the pavement, but a gravel roadway is constructed sandwiched between the wetland resource areas that actually accesses the solar field at the back of the project. So let me just bring the imagery back up just to refresh the commission there. So you can see the parking lot as constructed. You can see stormwater management as constructed. The end of the pavement approximately here where the cursor is moving, and then a graveled roadway continuing through between the two wetland pockets out to the solar field in the back. So those are the resource areas that are there. We will be doing a buffer zone only based project. So I'll flip it over to the grading plan so you can see the extent of what we're seeking to do. construction of the building and the parking lot. We do have to bring in some fill to support the building and also to support adequate cover, excuse me, over our stormwater management system. And in doing so, we'll add some transitional slopes on the easterly side of the building. We are endeavoring to hold at least 15 to 20 feet off of the resource areas as a healthy buffer to make sure the vegetation remains in place, being an important function to those resource areas. The stormwater collection, as one would imagine, meets all of the requirements of the town of Dartmouth and also the Mass DEP stormwater management system with deep sump-hooded catch basins. We have water quality devices to treat for total sediment removal and other pollutants. The system will ultimately flow through a stormwater infiltration basin located here, which is actually on lot 5 of the project, the planned office park project. Prior to that, we do have planned a subsurface infiltration system that will be installed as part of the stormwater management as lot 5 is developed. So if this project is approved by the Conservation Commission this evening, and it's already been approved by the Planning Board, we will construct the primary infiltration basin, but the subsurface infiltration field will be retained for a future construction when lot 5 is fully developed. Everything that we're presenting here this evening has been reviewed by the Planning Board. As I mentioned, several weeks ago, they approved it, subject to a final approval by the Town of Dartmouth DPW department, of which we have addressed through revision the substance of their initial comments. We've been coordinating with Mr. Paul Duart directly over there. We also were in receipt of comments from your conservation agent, as well as the commission's peer reviewer, Gus Raposa. We have revised the plans accordingly to address those comments. In short, Mr. Raposa's comments wanted to make sure we incorporated some operation and maintenance elements onto the plan, which we're happy to do, and those were provided over. With regard to the agent's comments, it was ensuring we had the correct buffer zone shown to the wetland resource areas. We also wanted to make sure that the silt fence was properly and accurately depicted as preferred by this commission. And the agent also requested that we provide some additional landscaping on the resource area sides of our slopes, which in this area here, we had previously only called for an erosion mix on those slopes. On the revised plans, we have included high bush blueberry and some dogwood trees to add some wetland compatible species there, which will obviously be a healthier mix for that rear slope. So we're happy to accommodate those. In terms of what the commission may recall in terms of stormwater on lot 5, a previous application that came in front of this commission was for an office building. And the previous application had approval for a stormwater basin already on lot 5. So this is really a modification of what the town has already approved. I know the commission, we should not treat that as precedent. This is a new and standalone application. But I just want to draw attention that the commission has seen it before. The stormwater elements have passed review before, and we're confident that everything is fine in this case as well. Short of any additional questions, I'm happy to walk through the details on the site planning aspects or any other elements within the buffer zone work to the commission's pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark, I'd like to hear staff's comments on this proposal.
Yeah, before I get into my comments, which I think Phil has adequately summarized. Phil, have you submitted those revised plans yet? Because I haven't seen them.
We have, sir. Everything has been uploaded through the portal. Gus has received them. Gus has commented on them. Yes, sir.
I know Gus has. I don't know that I have. Are they on the portal?
Yes, sir.
They are. Okay. I was not alerted to them, so I have not seen the revisions related to my comments. I appreciate your response to them, but at this juncture, I haven't looked at those particularly. I was looking at the previous. Okay.
Sir, happy to walk through them, of course. So happy to share this.
No, that's fine. I have not seen this plan yet. What's the date on this, Phil, if I could ask?
Of course can ask, November 20, sir.
Okay, November 20, all right. I mean, at face value, they look fine. I think I want a little bit more time to look at them than here before I address specifically comments. I do have another question if Ken's on and listening.
Yes, sir. Ken's for the developer. Yes.
And in a previous conversation that you and I had, you made it clear that this is somewhat time sensitive. This project.
Yes, sir. It is a project with a medical company called Fallon Medical out of Worcester, Mass. And
Okay.
it's time sensitive in the sense that they have a contract with actually Mass Health and Medicare. And so they are obligated under this contract to be operational in August, which I know that's not the commission's problem, but I think it's a great project for the town of Dartmouth. It's going to serve the local community. It's going to serve, the purpose of the project is to be a full service medical facility for elderly folks, 55 and older, within the general community. So it's actually it's an amazing advantage that Dartmouth through the Medicare and Mass Health program was chosen for this site was to be chosen for that the location of such a building. So anyway, in any case, that's the situation, and we'll work through it, I'm sure. Thank you.
I guess the reason for my question, Ken, is if I were to ask for a continuance until December 5th, which is next Tuesday, our next meeting, would that crimp you that severely? I mean, I'd like a chance to sit and look at the plan. I like to, I'm old school. I like to play with crayons.
Certainly, but Mark, listen, I'm sure 7 days isn't the end of the world. Obviously, we're at the time of the year that we're at. Creates a little bit of an additional critical timing, if you will. But certainly, 7 days isn't going to be the end of the world. So,
I mean,
of course, I understand.
My general comment is I am in favor of the project. Conceptually, it was just these little tweaks that I wanted to see, and I'd like to see, the big plan rolled out, in front of me, so I could take some time and look at it. So, as far as my other comments were concerned, I think that Phil covered them in that, this has been a site that, an industrial complex that has been reviewed by the town on several occasions. There have been several filings associated with Pascomanset land developers and with the Borrego solar field in the back. So I think I know this site as probably as well as any site in town. Spent a lot of time on it. So I'm inclined, I'm very supportive of the project. I would just ask if we could continue this to the 5th to give me a chance to sit and look at the plans. I apologize if they were directed. I never got tinged on it. I know that the other issue we have is that Gus has verbalized that I think you covered everything, but I have not yet seen a report from him in writing. I know he said something did he send something today? He did send it. See,
He did. He
I
did. He
didn't
sent
get
it
it
this
at 4.
afternoon. Let me see
He
if I
did.
can just pop it up for you. Here we go.
The commission hasn't seen it. We have a 5-day policy. And I know I saw the earlier email that he was going to send the letter, but I didn't see the letter until.
So just now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not Gus's fault, because frankly, I was running like a chicken with my head cut off. We had a loaded agenda tonight, and I had to deal with everybody, equally, so I didn't get a chance to see this.
Sure.
I guess I would just ask that, give me a week to compile everything together, and I think we can close this on the 5th.
Mark, thank you very much. We appreciate
That's okay.
your timely response to all of this. I know this came about pretty quickly, and we're thankful that you put us on the agenda for this evening. And certainly, 7 days isn't going to be the end of the world. And again, we appreciate it. Anything we can do in the meantime between now and next week, just let myself or Phil know, and we'll be happy to address any issues that you have. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do any commissioners have any questions while we have this public meeting open? Okay, is there anyone in the audience that wants to be heard this evening, knowing that we're going to take a vote to continue? Okay, I don't see any. Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until Tuesday, December 5, 2023 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second,
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a Nat. I'm a yes. That passes unanimously. I'm putting a tickle in my throat out without coughing online here. Okay, number 9. Do
Thank
we have a file number on this?
Yes, we did get a file number. It is 15-2711.
27, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. 11, thank you. So we have a public hearing on DEP file 15-2711 on the notice of intent from Jason and Mary Kate Roy to construct an addition to a single-family home in the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland on land described as map 66, lot 2-87. It's otherwise known as 18 Hummingbird Trail. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second,
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. That passes unanimously. On behalf of the applicant who is here.
I don't think anybody is here because they did submit an email request for a continuance to December 5th, and I forwarded that on to the commission right before I left on Wednesday when I received it prior to Thanksgiving. If I could give you a little background, they filed this on the portal, and I reviewed the proposal. I actually did a site visit. They were relying on an old wetland line that I had put out, I believe in 2019. And the line was put out for another engineering firm for a previous homeowner. And flags evident in the field, and people think that, well, you just walk out on a site, you remember the wetlands. Well, they were using a surveyed line, and I don't know that I would have landed on the same exact spots. So I commented on the portal that it should be rehung. Now, apparently there were 2 stubs out there which were very stubby, and unless you walked right up to the tree, you didn't see them, and they had weathered away. And I went out today and they looked pretty original, because they did restake the flagging. However, the other issue was that there was some sort of issue with the tax collector. I'm not sure if it was property taxes or water bills or something of that order, but there was an outstanding balance, and they shut the file down on the portal, which means that nobody can act on it. They literally froze it. So after a conversation with Mary
Levesque.
yesterday, she was quite upset about it. And I said, well, Mary Kate, I said, I can't do much to help you because I'm not the tax collector. Deal with them. To make a long story short, she did, and apparently the tax collector cleared everything late yesterday afternoon, which then freed everybody else up to get back into reviewing. Problem is that, everybody's running around busy, so not all departments got to sign off on this. So at this point, I felt it was even though I had gone out and looked at the wetland line and felt fairly comfortable, with the proposal, based on that wetland line, seeing it in the field again. I thought it was premature to close it, so I contacted the engineer, Zenith Land Surveyor, and he agreed to extend to December 5th. So that's why we're continuing. Just a lot of stuff happened very, very late, which seemed to be the trend for this agenda. Everything seemed to happen very, very late.
Okay, do any commissioners have any questions? Is there anyone in the audience here this evening that wants to be heard? I don't see any, so at this point, I would entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until Tuesday, December 5, 2023 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Seconded motion, roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, so that motion passes unanimously. And that concludes our public hearings. We're now moving on to our items for discussion. First is bills, which I guess we
No
don't.
bills.
So Mark, you want to discuss our discussion items?
Yeah, sure, I'll go through them. The first one is 85 McCabe Street. As part of the packet I sent out, there was a letter from Steve Giosa dated, actually it's a memo dated November 21st, 2023. And there was a little attachment, sketch attachment. Apparently, and this discussion has been going on for a while, the current owner, George Verissimo, applied and got an order of conditions for a plan put together by Zenith Land Survey, which is the base plan as to what I sent you. When they went out to build what they had, what had been approved, there was a problem with the elevations, and basically the 68 elevation that was being used, when you dug to that, you were really creating like a hole that was going to be like a permanent water feature right in the backyard, and that became a problem. So George Verissimo contacted me, and I said, well, George, I said, you know, I can only go on what a stamped plan says. I have a land surveyor showing me elevations, so you gotta, you know, that's what I have to live with. I mean, I don't go out there with a rod and check this stuff. So anyway, to make a long story short, he contacted Steve Giosa, and Steve went out and checked the benchmarks and found that the elevations on the plan of record are about 6 inches off. They were 6 inches lower than they should have been. So what Steve did was did this little, I call it a red line, but the corrections or the edits are in green, and basically kept the same configuration, but revised the elevations. And so he said to me, he says, what Zenith proposed won't work because those grades don't exist out in the field. You'd have to dig up the whole site to get to, you know, create that grading. So he proposed this modification, which does not change anything on the site. It just, in Steve's opinion, puts it at a correct elevation. It will function. This is an area to retain 100-year storm water that was displaced by the proposed house that was built. So functionally, everything's the same. It's just the numbers are wrong, and they understand that they're going to have to provide us with an as-built plan at the time that they apply for a certificate of compliance. So I'm just passing this off to you. I think that, you know, it looks worse than it is. I think at the end of the day, it's much more functional and correctly functional to the spirit of the order of conditions. So they are going to proceed on that premise moving forward. So that's basically an FYI for you folks. Second item, Smith Mills split rail fence. I sent a picture last week. Tim Lancaster, the Director of Parks and Rec, came to me and said, you know, you guys own Smith Mills Park, but we maintain it. Have you taken a look at the split rail fence that sits right adjacent to the dam on the Pascamanset River? And I said, no, I haven't noticed it. He said, well, it's pretty deteriorated. Went out, took a picture. It's got no split rails. The posts are probably pretty rotten and probably should be replaced. He said that he would replace it as part of normal maintenance. And I told him it's a public safety issue. We're not going to wait, you know, to file to do something to maintain something that exists in a lawn area next to a stone wall that, you know, drops to a stone dam and a rocky splash pad. People use that park, and so I have told him to go ahead. So if you see or hear anything about fence work in Smith Mills Park, that's what it is. Okay. The last, let's see, the third item is the Grazia APR, a letter for a trailer. This is an FYI. Some of you, maybe all of you, will remember a few months ago, well, maybe about a month and a half ago, we were talking about this APR relative to a bank proposal on a separate parcel. Okay, it's the same APR. We own it. The APR was drawn up in the early 80s or the 70s. I forget the date. But it wasn't a complaint. It was a question by someone, apparently a woman. I shouldn't say that, a person. I don't know that it's a woman. Has put a recreational vehicle on a portion of the APR. If you know where McConville Lane is, which goes north of Old Fall River Road, just to the east of Turner's Pond. It's a single lane cart path laneway that goes, you know, deep into the APR. There's a residence in the back. That may be the DeGrazia's residence. But just before you get to the residence, to the east of the laneway, there is a substantial recreational vehicle on a piece of land, and the woman, I keep saying the woman, the person who is using that recreational vehicle has leased a portion of the land to raise animals, I think pigs and chickens and the like. They have built a substantial wooden shelter, you know, that speaks nothing more than agricultural use. The question becomes, in the APR, in the opening limitations, it either says no mobile homes or no trailers. I forget the exact phraseology. But that was written at a time when these vehicles were somewhat different, I think. And if you read further into the APR restrictions and allowances, the APR does allow for structures to be used for temporary residences for farm workers, you know, who are in the business of agriculture. This kind of falls within a gray area because I think that RVs could fit the definition of a structure, but they also could fit the issue of a mobile home or a trailer. I have not pursued it. I basically set the person who made the comments and the complaints, I set them on a path to try to research this out a little bit more. Because frankly, I don't have the time to, you know, dive deep into this again. I'm putting you folks on notice since the commission is the holder along with the state of the APR. And looking for some guidance. I mean, you know, I could write a letter to Mr. DeGrazia as an inquiry. Do we want to do that now? Do we want to wait, sit on it? You can't see it from the road, and it's, from my standpoint, a pretty benign use. However, it probably needs some sort of permitting, not necessarily by us, but by others for, using mobile homes for transient residential use. So I'm bringing that up, for a quick brainstorm here to see where we want to go with it.
I guess my initial comment is, if it's not an issue involving the Wetlands Protection Act or the town bylaws regarding wetlands, we're the wrong forum for the complaint. So wouldn't that appropriately be, either building inspector's office or?
No, we're the town's holder of the APR.
Well, then, okay, so if we're the town's holder of the APR and you're going out and you've seen it and you don't know that it's really that bad of a thing, I'm not so sure that we, need to do anything other than the fact to tell them, make sure that they don't expand that use. I'm just troubled by the fact, though, that this is true, that this is being done with Mr. DeGrazia's knowledge. I mean, this guy was, here to try to get around something he did a while ago on for the credit union or for the bank, and he's now still violating it. I'm wondering if he even knows what he agreed to do.
Well, I think, and I'm not trying to defend him, but I mean, he's clearly trying to get, financial resource to support his lifestyle. And if he's living on an APR, support the existence of the APR. I don't know what the lease area is. I don't know what the lease agreement is. It certainly looks like it's going to be an agricultural use. And, I'm troubled. I mean, look, I could go out there and say, hey, it's a mobile home. You can't have it. Get it off the land. But it's not a trailer park. It's clearly an ag use, based on the land, based on the structures that are there. So I'm kind of caught in the middle. And you really have to drive in there to see it, to be bothered by it. I don't know how this person even noticed it, except maybe they were walking on the laneway and saw it. Because you can't see it from Old Fall River Road. It's got to be, I don't know, maybe a quarter mile, maybe a little less, but it's deep down in that laneway.
Oh, I mean, the fact that it can't be seen from the road is really an issue that a fact I don't really consider irrelevant, because either they violated it or they didn't. And
right.
if I'm hearing correctly, this is a borderline case, because you're thinking that it could be that they're using it for agriculture, which is what they're allowed to do, but it specifically states that there's no mobile homes, and that's what it is. Right. So, where are you with it in terms of it's interpretive? Okay, to me, you've got a mobile home there. I mean, honestly, I think what I would do is say, I'm going to have a discussion with DeGrazia. What are you using it for? What's its use? And if it's being rented, then get it off. If it's being somehow or other an office or something for the agricultural thing, probably let it go. I mean, I can't imagine that it's going to be that upsetting to the overall covenants. But on the other hand, we do have a duty then, if we're the holder of the covenants, to act as good stewards and not just to allow things to happen. We're lucky this person saw it, because we never would have seen it.
No, it's went up in an airplane.
Why would you? I mean, we never would have seen it. And that's probably, but because it's so hard to find doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Right.
So I think that's the only thing is, what are you doing with this? Why is it there? What's the purpose of
Am
it?
am I hearing you say you want me to draft a letter to him and inquire what's going on?
Well, I think we have to. I think, it's been
Okay.
brought to our attention. And,
Okay.
we'd say this has been brought to our attention. We confirmed it's there. What are you using it for?
Okay.
What is it? And then let the response then dictate what we do next. We don't have to tell them, by the way, if you're using it for habitation, it's got to move. We don't tell them why we're asking, we just ask.
I agree with Mike's comments, and I also am afraid of setting a precedent so that every APR could be turned into a trailer park. And if he is allowed to keep it for agriculturally associated activities, it shouldn't be a decision that sets a precedent and is can be used as for other people to do similar things. Each use of in this regard should be approved individually.
I agree, and frankly, I think it's also important that when we have somebody who reports something to us, it's certainly the good citizen. Maybe they had bad motive, but the good citizen says, hey, there's something you should be aware of. I know you can't see it from the road, but I saw this. I think we have a duty to act on those things which are.
What I would also recommend is if you're instructing me to write the letter, which I think you are, I would copy it to MDR.
Yeah, absolutely.
They hold more of it than we do. We hold a small percentage of it. They own more of it than we do.
I think you're absolutely right. And that's definitely
Okay. We can do that.
It's not that I want to go to battle over it, but I do think we have
We have an obligation. I mean, and that's, we're the holder of it, or one of the holders of it.
I mean, and who's to say, another one doesn't show up 6 months down the road, and then it turns into something bigger than it needs to be.
Yeah, and I think that one thing that this should tell us, though, is that in these situations where owners of farms, family farms with APRs on them are trying to save the farm, if this is the state of, transient residential uses for farmhands, we probably should be aware that we may see this again on other parcels. And, Joe references a trailer park. This has no indication of being a trailer park from my visual, okay? And a trailer park would be verboten, I get that. But, now we're getting into that squeeze where we're looking at regulatory language that was written 50 years ago, and times are changing, and they're changing faster than the regulatory language can catch up. And if something is standard operating procedure today, we're going to have to address it. So all I'm suggesting is we should be thinking about this, wherever we have, some ownership take on a use restriction, whether it's conservation or APR or what have you. So, but I will craft a letter and I will send it out, and I will copy you, Mike, on the letter.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
And I'm mindful of your comments. I mean, a lot of things change, and sometimes the regulations lag significantly behind the changes.
Right, and I, Mike, you're a land use attorney. I don't know how a judge would look at this. I tend to think judges would probably be a little bit more lenient, on this and say, look, this is what they're living in now on farms. Get over yourself.
It might be, if it's truly an agricultural use and you need it to try to preserve the farm, I can't imagine using their equity powers that a judge would hold them to every I dotted and T crossed. But, honestly, I think from our standpoint, we've been alerted to a potential violation. We have an issue. We make the request. and let the other stakeholders know about it. Let's see what the response is.
Okay, will do. My next discussion item is more of a reminder to you folks, given the way the holidays set up this year, there tends to be a slightly bigger gap between Thanksgiving and Christmas than we normally have. So what that did was it have two meetings in December and not get tied up with the holidays. We scheduled a meeting for next week. Okay, so next Tuesday, we have a regularly scheduled meeting. So I'm just reminding you, you folks of that. So it'll be a quick turnaround. So just be aware. The last item I have is, I've just gone through the pleasurable experience of changing my cell phone. And in switching all my stuff over, as is always the case, not all of it, all the stuff went over. I have Mike's number, I have Richard's number, and I have Patty's number. Joe, Kyle, Nat, and I'm gonna have to ask Jim. Could you please email me a cell number so that I can put it into my contacts again? Just so I have that, because I know that there are times when we sometimes have to call, and I usually have my phone sitting right here. So I can make the calls much faster than others. So if you can just get me that for contact purposes, I appreciate it. I have Mike, I have Richard, and I have Patty's already. I'm done.
I have no new items or any items to bring up. If any commissioner does, now's your time. All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded, roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Meeting is adjourned at 8:32.